Welcome back to the States. I'm Greg Bishop. The housing market, it's not moving much. Sales of new listings, they're sitting around the same time that they were this time last year. To give us more perspective on the specifics of the housing market, let's check in with Everyday Economics hosts, the Center Square publisher Chris Krug and PhD economist Orphe Difounguy.
Let's get into it. You say housing is stuck. If I'm trying to buy or sell a house right now, what is stuck actually?
Well, it's actually a little bit better than last year, but not very much. Not like we had expected. It's basically the same pace as a year ago. Yes, you can sell a house. Yes, homes are still moving relatively fast, conditional on being on the market. But we were expecting a lift this year. We're expecting things to continue to improve from a year ago. And we're not really seeing that. Sales are basically flat on a year-over-year basis. What's the real key here? The key is there's just not a lot of sellers to start with, right? If you look at new listings, right, they're flat compared to last year, but far below where they were in, say, 2019 or 2018, or even just, a few years ago, right before interest rates started moving higher, right? 2021, 22. So with few sellers coming on the housing market, you don't have a lot of turnover. You don't have a lot of sales, right? And you're seeing something similar in the labor market. You have very low labor demand, and with very low labor demand, well, hiring are low, right? Hiring remains low, and so you don't have a lot of people saying, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and move into a better job." And the two markets are very much linked because ultimately, the top reasons people move is a new job. So if you don't have a new job, or if your income is not improving, right, you're not looking to move. You don't have a lot of reasons to move, right? And so you're staying put. And so that's what's happening here. People are just staying in place longer. So you have fewer people trying to sell their homes. And with fewer people trying to sell their homes, you have fewer home sales altogether, right? There's also less mobility in the rental markets. Ultimately, right, the rents continue to increase. They're increasing at a slower pace than they did a few years ago. That has cooled down somewhat, but they're still rising in many markets across the country. And so renters are feeling kind of trapped. Their budgets are tight. They don't have new job prospects or big wage increases. And so they're saying, well, I might as well stay where I'm at right now and not go out in the market where rents are slightly higher. My current deal is a better deal than going out in the market where rents are slightly higher. And so a lot of people are just not moving right now. That's really what's happening. We talked about the labor market. Unless you've been in the healthcare fields, there aren't a lot of job openings out there. So you don't have a lot of options but to stay put.
So, I mean, Larry, so let's talk about how this gets unstuck, right? I mean, what has to happen for housing to kind of re-engage? I mean, would there have to be a significant shift in employment and employment opportunity? Are we talking about significant growth across multiple sectors? I mean, in the last episode, you and I talked about what actually, where the jobs are lying. And frankly, a lot of them are not in the private, market space. So it's still a lot of public, related, government related work that's kind of underlying. So what has to happen, I mean, here for this to open back up in a meaningful way? And when do you think we might be able to see that? How long does something like this take?
I think a lot of people are waiting for mortgage rates to come down somewhat. I think that might be rate lock-in is still part of a small part of the story, but ultimately we need more people, right? Americans are aging. And as people age, they tend to stay. We look at the data. As people age, they're more likely to actually stay in place.
Sure.
stay in their they stay in their homes longer. They don't downsize. They don't do anything. They just stay put. And so we're going to need a surge of the younger folks coming into the U.S. We're going to need a surge of younger workers. That is going to boost up demand on the demand side, but it's also the construction sector. It's also going to help the construction side of the economy, because ultimately we need young, trained in the trades, right? Workers trained in the trades to help us with our construction shortfalls. We're going to need a boost in productivity growth and new job creation to really incentivize people to move where the opportunities are, to move about and around the country, right? And ultimately, we're going to need to see fewer regulations in those big job centers, right? Fewer land use rules in those big job centers in order to get more construction, right? You look at a place like New York, a labor market like New York is always pretty hot and around the surrounding area. And so there's a lot of people that would otherwise move to New York for a job. But they don't. And the reason they don't is because there's not enough housing inventory. In fact, housing inventory in that area is actually falling. The market is very tight in the Northeast. And there's not a lot of options. And on top of that, and because there aren't a lot of options, it's extremely expensive. So that is how you unlock the housing market.
Yeah, and rent control in New York City can't possibly help that scenario at all. So you've got something fairly big coming from Zillow this week that you telegraphed. What's the headline?
The housing market report. The Zillow housing market report drops this week. And it's likely to confirm what I just spoke about, which is basically inventory somewhat flat on a year-over-year basis. New listings somewhat flat on a year-over-year basis. Sales somewhat flat on a year-over-year basis. No big move up from the bottom. I call it the bottom because it's really, we had not seen sales that low for a long time. And so, we're still there. Nothing's really moved up from a year ago. There's stability, but that stability comes after a big downshift.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your thoughts as always, Dr. O. That Zillow report's coming out Thursday morning, so we look forward to seeing that. Hey, make sure you catch Dr. O's Everyday Economics column Mondays at the Center Square. You can hear Orphe and I every weekend on the Center Square Radio Hour. And you can now find Everyday Economics Inside the States, the Center Square's daily news magazine, streaming on YouTube.